Hi guys, and welcome to Geek Talk, where we talk deep and geek about pianos, keyboards, synthesizers, and music production. And I'm here with Ade Fenton, and we've really overstayed our welcome today. So this is the final part in this three-part Ade Fenton special. And in this part, we're going to do a studio tour of Ade Fenton's studio.
Should I put my glasses on?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we're going to do a proper geek out. Right, so Ade, we'll start off with. Should we start off in that corner over there?
Fine, yeah.
I'll just take the camera from you, sir. Thank you very much. Welcome to the third and final part of this very in-depth Ade Fenton special. If you've not subscribed yet, then please hit that subscribe button. If you're a Gary Numan fan, this is the channel to be. Now, if you've not seen parts 1 and 2 yet, don't worry. You can find the links to those in the description below. Watch those and then come back to this. And in this part 3, Ade Fenton will be speaking extensively about his use of the Roland CR-78 drum machine and the challenges of how he tried to incorporate this into the Intruder album without making it sound dated. And he managed to do that very successfully because, as you know, Intruder is the bomb. Ade also speaks in depth about his friendship and working relationship with Gary Numan, and there's a lot of laughs to be had. And right at the end of this video, there will be the long-awaited studio tour where Ade shows us around his brand new studio. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Ade, we spoke on the interview how there's a there's great. One thing my community have picked up is, great chemistry between you and Gary. Some people say like two peas in a pod and things like that. And Gary
Lego.
Lego, yeah. Gemma called you like Lego.
Lego, yeah.
He said, what Gary said is, he said, yeah, Ade always tries to sometimes sneak this old shit into the stuff. And obviously this was, for the geeks out there, full respect to you for incorporating a CR-78 into a modern record, because the CR-78 is a very iconic sound. We love the sound of it, but it's a very dated and a very distinctly a time of a period. You incorporated that into this album by obviously layering with industrial sounds and stuff. Was it a real CR-78?
Yeah, it was. It's over in Bristol for repair.
Yeah, you see, guys, it wasn't a plug-in.
It's so battered. But it sort of broke during the making of. So I had to move to a plug-in. The real CR-78 is on I Am Screaming. That's the real CR-78. And then the plug-in version was used on Betrayed. You probably won't notice the difference, because there's so much processing going on through the Eventide, through all sorts of different tape emulations. So there's a bit of both on the album, actually. There's a fantastic plug-in called Compu-78 of the CR-78. It's absolutely brilliant. It's only 12 quid.
Really?
Absolutely brilliant.
There we go, guys. Who makes that?
I forget who makes it, but it's called Compu-78.
Oh, they're probably watching it and they're getting some great advertising from one of the best guys in the industry. So.
It's really brilliant.
No, that is amazing. So the CR-78 has been quite. Was that just you paying homage to old Gary Numan stuff?
I don't know if it's like paying homage, but like you said, it's a lovely sounding thing. But how can it be used in a modern album? I do feel like it's almost been concentrating. A lot of people have kind of asking me about it, probably because of the similarities on the fact that it was probably last used on iAssassin or Dance or whatever. So it wasn't even like a deliberate thing. It just, when Gary sent me the gift, it was like, hang on a minute, I wonder what a CR-78 would say. It wasn't like a deliberate thing.
Yeah.
And then you start going, I might then try that on Betrayed, and let's see what it sounds like on that. And it felt like it added a groove to it, and with a lot of reverb, with either distortion or, as you say, layering it with different sounds, it kind of it just sort of melted into the background, and it it did give it a distinctive sound, that is a nod to dance, But I think I mentioned it on the previous interview that we did together. as long as it doesn't sound pastiche, and as long as it doesn't sound like it's just trying to pay homage is the wrong phrase, but as long as it doesn't sound like, oh, we're just chucking a CR-78 in because, you know, that'll make it sound a bit like dance.
It's got to be intentional.
It's got to be, absolutely. And it's got to, if I'd have done it and it had sounded shit, or if Gary had fucking hated it, then it wouldn't have been on the album. But, you know, we tried it and it, like, hang on a minute, that sounds really good. But, it's the same thing with, I feel like the CR-78 thing has been sort of over concentrated on slightly, but I get why. I totally get why, because I've made no secret of the fact that, you know, I love dance. I think it's a beautiful, amazing, timeless album, still do. And but you know, the Numan string sound, the PolyBrute Voxy Moana style sound, you know, I don't use the Voxy Moana sound. I use a sound on the Virus, which is a sort of bastardized preset called Commerce on the Virus, with lots more a touch of distortion. Take all the reverb off so it doesn't sound trancy. Lots of release though, and it's a cutting sound for me. And I first used that on Jagged, you know, and it's only on one track I think on Intruder, and that's on Intruder, on the track Intruder. And so those sounds, you know, yes, they are identifiable as Gary Numan sounds, you know, but as long as we don't, you know, do a beauty with them, then you know, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah,
you know.
Right, so coming on to the two peas in a pod thing, or as Gemma calls you, the two Lego. I got a lot of not stick. People loved it. The interview I had with you and Gary on Zoom was, and they said, Vaughn, only you would speak to one of your idols and call him Forrest Gump. I think I was very clear on why I said that. I basically just said, if you've ever watched the movie Forrest Gump is this brilliant guy, but he's so unassuming. Like, he'll do brilliant things, and you'll be like, Forrest, that's amazing. And he'll be like, yeah. And Gary is like that. He does amazing things, and you're just like, dude, this is amazing. And he's just dismissive. One of the classic parts of that interview was when he said, oh, I'm not a producer. And you went, but you produced dance, and you like ran through all the songs. So it is the Forrest Gump. Gary Numan, you are the Forrest Gump of...
look, we just have...
great chemistry.
We do. I mean, you know, he's such a close friend, and Gemma too, you know, and I'm just, you know, I'm a very lucky man, aren't I? I mean, you know, I'm producing albums for somebody that was my childhood hero, you know. I mean, that's a lovely position to be in. But not just that, we just get on really well, and I think we have massive working respect for one another, but we are able to, we're able to get pissed off with one another without it becoming a problem, even if it's on the album. You know, we made a joke, didn't we, about him having a bit of a hissy fit about there not being enough bass in I Am Screaming, you know, and you know, but that's fine, you know. He's going, he's fucking shit, you know, that kind of, and I'm just going, it's fine, mate. We'll just put more bass in it, but that's cool. That's I want it to be like that, you know what I mean. But at the same time, you know, we just mercilessly rip the piss out of one another, you know, and have just like any other mates, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So he doesn't have a problem sort of asserting himself or expressing himself. No. And if he doesn't like something, he'll be.
And we've also got to the stage now where I can do the same without worrying about it.
Yeah.
I'm not worried that I'm going to offend him or upset him. You know, it's just he knows that I just want it to be the best it can be.
You've passed the probation period.
I think so. Exactly, yeah. But being mates enables us to sort of do it and not worry about it. It's just not even a thing anymore. You know.
You know, I don't like to go down gossip routes and things like that, but you two did have a bit of a falling out.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. It's in the book.
As friends do.
It's in the book. You know. Yeah. You know, dark forces were at play, and you know, outside influences were just sort of, you know, creating situations that weren't really there. I think me and Gary, you know, we both made mistakes in the way we handled it. And, you know, sadly, after his mum passed away, you know, I sent him an email saying, I'm really sorry, sir, about your mum, mate. And that was it. We met in mutual territory at Richie's house in Reading. and spent 5 hours just thrashing it out. And then at the end of it, he just went, "Do you want to produce Savage?" And I went, "Yeah, all right." And then that was that. And then, I swear to you, it's never been stronger, actually, the relationship. And we're just professionally and personally, I don't think we've ever been sort of closer, to be honest.
And can you hear that the quality just seems to get better and better every time? So.
Well, that's what you're always aiming for, though, isn't it? Whether it's Gary or anyone else, that you're always aiming to be better with the next thing that you do.
I think it does. It does happen in friendships and stuff like that. Especially, I find that when you're dealing with music, you're dealing with emotions. So there's. I think every good engineer knows that you've got to leave space for that, because we're not talking banking, we're not talking finance. We're talking a completely emotional thing. So I think we do need to leave space for people to vent, and and hence the fallouts and stuff do happen. Of course,
yeah. I think I don't know any human being that hasn't had a fallout with another human being, regardless of how close they are. It's about. I think with us, what we did was sort of give one another the space, and he worked on his thing, I worked on my thing, but now it just feels like it feels weird to even think about that now. It's so far past that now, that we're so close, and Gemma too, and it's like I say, it's just odd to think of it like that, but I'm glad that we're able to handle it eventually.
Well, I think there's that fine line between love and hate, and I've found this. There was a thing once that I heard. They said, if you really love someone, there's more chance you can really hate them, because it's kind of like, if someone says something about you and you don't know them, you don't care. But if someone you care says something about you, so I think it's that thing that comes into play again. You're getting quite philosophical. Yeah, it's just that I think the closer people become, there is more chance for them to fall out. But of course there's that makes any sense.
I get what you're saying, and I'm just glad that we were able to thrash it out and just put it behind us.
Obviously this is there's a time scale that he's on. Gary's going to be coming back next year to be he's performing in the UK next year. So is there any sort of plan for Intruder 2?
The plan is that Gary's going to start writing it as soon as possible. Yeah,
oh, really?
And I think it's good. What the timescale is yet, I don't know.
But he's a workaholic as well, isn't he?
You know what? Since he's been managing himself, I mean, he just works so unbelievably hard. The amount of promo, as you well know, the amount of promo that he does, it's mad. It's absolutely incessant, constantly. Days upon days upon days of doing 7 or 8, half an hour or 1 hour interviews or whatever, talking about an album or talking about, the time that you discovered a mini moog in a studio, for the 1000th time, and he is so brilliant at doing it. It's unbelievable. I have mercilessly ripped the piss out of him in the past for being lazy. Right. Much to my amusement and his, actually. But he's so not. He works so hard. And the promo that he's done for Intruder, and now he's about to start the American press campaign for Intruder. So he's got to do it all again.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
We say he's probably honestly the youngest 63-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
However, having said that, I will be texting him later saying that he's a lazy cunt.
Well, that's for the record there. If you want to look at the camera and say it, you're more than welcome.
Oh, dear.
Right, so two peas in a pod, or Lego, as Gemma calls you. Just a quick question on the mastering.
Yeah.
Your mastering engineer for this and the previous album was
Matt Coulton.
Matt Coulton, that's right. Mm-hmm. So when you have the songs mastered, do you send him a stereo file or do you send him stems?
I send him a stereo file.
Just a stereo file?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Nathan or whoever's mixing it sends the finished mixes over to Matt. But I always attend, and usually Gary would attend the mastering as well. But COVID meant Gary was unable to on Intruder. But Matt's mastered everything since Dead Sun Rising.
Yeah. And I think, as I said last time, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Do you think that, well, it's obviously Gary's decision, but I think that this collaboration, all the people involved here now, it's probably going to continue for a long time.
I hope so. I mean, that would be amazing. It'd be lovely to bring in different elements. I've got ideas where I think Intruder 2 could go, absolutely, already. And Gary has too. And we've been, we were discussing it just before he left. I won't say what they are because it will sort of ruin the surprise, but, we've definitely got an idea of how to expand
to present
everything. Yeah.
And it's great. Everything's kind of like in a universe now. And of course, Intruder came number 2 in the album charts, as we said, and you were just knocked off by, last time was by the Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters, this time Olivia Rodrigo. I did have to Google her, I must say.
Yeah.
Just to see who she was.
No, that's great. And as we said, it's it's been a long time since Gary got into these sort of album charts.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, really, if you think about it. That Splinter was number 20, I think, which was his first top 20 since Warriors, was it? And then this, two number 2 albums in the space of 4 years, consecutively as well. I mean, it's fantastic. Highest placing since 81, I think. So very, very happy, obviously.
Oh, that's great. And I don't think he would have ever. I think I can't speak on behalf of himself, but I don't think he, the way things were going many years ago, he could probably never see that he would get to this level. And indeed, you yourself, if someone told you 30 years ago you'd be in the position you were in now, would you ever believe them?
Of course, no, because I would have been up a ladder, fixing signs to the wall.
What was your day job?
That was it.
You were fixing.
I used to make signs. Yeah, I was a sign maker.
A sign maker.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, are you in touch with any of your sign maker colleagues?
No.
Do they sort of look at you and go?
I mean, I know people that I sort of knew back then, but none of the sort of people at the place I used to work.
Because here's a question: how much? And this isn't a stupid question. I don't mean this rude, but how much of a musician are you?
No, I mean, I make absolutely no secret in the fact that my musical ability is limited, to say the least. But I have an ability I just hear stuff, and I hear it perhaps differently to other people. Yeah. Maybe that's because I can't read music.
Oh yeah. Most of us can't. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I just hear stuff differently, and I think, and I'm prepared to follow that idea, even though it might not be the strongest musical idea. That gives it a certain something, I think. I mean, obviously, things are, I know my chords and I know all that. It's not like I can't play with it's not like I only sit there playing with one finger or anything. It's different to that, but. I'm certainly not Mark Ronson, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, no musical, never done anything to study, never studied it at all. Mm-hmm. But so, I know that there's plenty of people out there who sort of, doubt of my musical ability, and fine, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. But, a producer's job is to, get the best out of everybody that they're working with, and I'm good at that. I'm really good at that.
Yeah, you are, and I'm glad you admit that, because you're quite modest. There's a bit of Forrest Gump in you as well.
There is, yeah.
And I'm just saying,
definitely.
but I find this with most people. It's like that saying, the problem of the world is that people who are intelligent, they question themselves, and idiots are cocksure.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and, you do remind me of Gareth Jones, because I've obviously been. It sounds like I'm terribly names dropping now, but I've been hanging out with him a lot now, because we've just released his album on my label and stuff, and I've had the blessing of picking his brain and stuff, and I can see a similarity because he himself also very big Forrest Gump syndrome. He kind of just puts things out, doesn't call himself a musician, calls himself a noisemaker.
Yeah, I mean, I would go along with that for sure.
Yeah,
but of course you have to understand music. You have to know that note following that note, it's not going to sound right. That there is always, regardless of whether you've had any musical theory training or whatever it might be, you still have an ear for it, don't you? you might not be able to play Beethoven's Fifth Symphony or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can, if you understand the musicality of something, if you understand harmony, and if you understand all these kind of things, then I think you need some of that to be able to be good at what you do. But like I was saying, to be able to bring people in like Tim Slade, for example, or Steve Harris, Tim in particular, unbelievable musician, can play piano amazingly, can play bass, can play double bass, can play cello. Makes me sick, really. He's, can do. But then he looks at me in a way of like, fucking hell, I wish I could do what you do, know. So, but I think we all suffer from that,
Yeah, it's the grass green on the other side kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I mean, you've got your skill and you do what you're best at.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Ade, I is this one of the most thorough interviews you've ever done?
Undoubtedly.
You probably feel like you're being interrogated, because I think we should just have a light on you saying, right, Mr. Fenton, you will talk.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
That's how it feels, I am comfortable doing interviews, actually. Definitely, but there is again the Forrest Gump thing of like, well, why would anybody be interested in what I've got to say?
Exactly. Yeah, no. Well, I tell you what, just on being very open, you are someone that I've been wanting to approach for about 18 months since the channel started, and we kind of put these names up. Maybe we can approach so and so. So I was out running one day, and my phone went bloop bloop, and I went. And it said, Ade Fenton is now following you on Twitter. So I had to stop. I was like, I'm not being all fanboy, but, it was just like, it was a big deal for me. And then when I reached out to you, I think I texted, I posted a tweet and I said, I love the new album. Well done, Gary, well done, Ade. And then you responded, you said, thank you for the kind words, Vaughn. And then I said, anytime. And I think, to cut a long story short, I got back to you and I said, well, I've been wanting to approach you. And then you said something like, it was funny, I was going to, you were going to reach out to me.
I'd seen the David, the one you did with David, and David, spoke nicely of you, and I just thought it'd be a cool thing to do, because I just love talking about technology, stuff. Talk to me about gear all day,
Guys, I said when I come here, I'm going to make sure this is going to be the most thorough Ade Fenton interview ever. And he's going to want to kick me out. Just on a final note, we're talking about musicality and stuff. Gary said it best in an interview once. He said, when people say, have you not studied music? Gary said the problem is when you study music, you know how to do things, and that is why you always go to that. But he said, like himself, who doesn't understand anything, being like Forrest Gump again, saying he knows nothing when we know he does. Yeah. He said, because he's got no formal understanding, he tends to stumble across things, which makes them more interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
What we got here?
Okay, so I quite often have a MacBook Pro on here, just recording straight into. So I might do some noodling on. So let me go through it. This is the newest acquisition to my studio, which is the Analog Solutions Leipzig V3, which is completely different to the Leipzig S that I have over there.
Oh yes,
it's all based around the same kind of circuitry, but what Tom's added is this patch bay here, which is absolutely brilliant, and some additions to the step sequencer, which I use a lot. I absolutely love this. I've still not really delved into it that much because I've not had it that long, but I love what I've heard so far, so thank you, Tom.
Shout out to Tom J. Carpenter.
Tom Carpenter, he's the man. This is I've had this ages. This is an MFB Earthwood Pro, which is a 64-step analog step sequencer. I'm a massive fan of step sequencing. I find you get lots and lots of cool ideas going really quickly. This is an Arturia Mini Brute 2S. Shout out as well, big shout out to Brian Burfshirts from Arturia. He's the man. Arturia sent me this thing. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. So again, it's all based on analog circuitry, but with the digital step sequencer, this lovely patch bay here, which is so simple to use. And I'm not a massive modular fan. Not a fan. I'm a modular fan, but I'm not a modular geek by any stretch, But I like the fact that I can step into it at this level and get some great stuff. Some of the some the sounds from Intruder. A lot came from the Mini Brute 2S. This is the Analog Solutions Vostok again. Big shout out to Tom for this. Absolute beast of a machine. Suitcase synth with pin matrix modulation. Pin matrix here, capable of some truly crazy sounds. Very temperamental though, but I do love it.
So very random in its...
Yeah, absolutely. Another almost new acquisition to my studio is the Arturia PolyBrute synth, polyphonic synth rather. Absolutely love this thing. Been using it on the film score. I've just been doing the boxing one enormously. Beautiful sounds. Love the... Very similar actually to the pin matrix on the Vostok, but this is a fully digital modulation matrix. Absolutely wonderful. And the best thing about this synth is this thing here, the morph button, which so basically each patch is made up of 2 sounds, and you can morph in between the 2, and when you hit the sweet spot of morphing between one sound and another, you get some absolutely fantastic noises out of this thing. I really like it.
Was that the new one, Ade?
Yeah, this is the new one, the PolyBrute. Yeah, absolutely love it. Right. This is the Waldorf Blofeld. I've had a long time. Unfortunately, the pots are all dirty, and so the filter cut-off doesn't work, for example. So I need to take the top off and give it a damn good clean. But it's really good. Really like that. So Axis Virus TI, TI2, this one. The Axis Virus has been the mainstay of my studio setup for a long time. A lot of the Gary sounds come from this. A guy called Matt Jessup supplied me with some sounds. I think it was the Pleasure Principle tour that we did with Gary. And he'd come up with some brilliant patches which emulated the Polymoose sound and the Arp Odyssey sound and the metal bass line and all different kind of things. So that I use the Virus a lot. Not quite so much now that I've sort of expanded the studio a bit, but I still love it. My beloved Eventide Eclipse.
Oh yeah.
This is featured on almost everything I've done. Very expensive but wonderful reverb, delay, pitch shifting. I just love it. It's absolutely brilliant. Eventide, they're just all wonderful. They make wonderful stuff. Have to mention my PMC speakers, because these things, you've just heard what they sound like. Just incredible. I just don't know what I'd do without them. I love them. Native Instruments stuff here then. So Machine Mark 3, where I do all my drum attempts that you enjoy.
They were very, very realistic on big noise transmission. Yeah.
Thanks very much. And then Complete Control. I think this is the S61, is it?
S61, that's right. Yeah.
Which again, you know what? Complete Control, I do like it. It's great, but the GY, come on, Native Instruments. It's like it's from the 90s. The GUI on Complete Control. We need to get those people that use it as a plug-in as opposed to standalone. We need to get that GUI sorted. So come on, Native Instruments.
I don't want to jump in on the bandwagon and have a go, but I will back you up on that, because I actually have one of these. I think they're very, very good, and indeed Gary Newman has one.
Indeed, he's got one. Don't get me wrong.
So I agree with you that the GUI needs a bit. The GUI needs a bit of.
It needs bringing up to date.
It does.
I do think they're working on it, though. To be fair, and again, Native Instruments have been very kind to me. I've thanked them a lot on all the records that we've done, and they've been great. So I'm not going to knock anything about the hardware, but on the software side, especially the GUI, they just need to be sorted out.
Constructive criticism.
Thank you very much. I hope that's okay with you.
Absolutely fine.
Thank you for the support. PreSonus failure port. I did have a big 64-channel control surface up until about 2 years ago, and I just thought, why do I need it?
Yeah.
If I'm sending everything to Nathan, why do I why do I need a mixing console effectively? And so I just went with the fader port, PreSonus fader port, which I just use for automation passes.
I've got one of those as well. I had the eight channel one, but I got rid of it to get this one because I myself, who's not going to mix my stuff, I just thought it's nice to just have that control.
Exactly.
You don't need all those faders.
If you're doing like rides on vocals or whatever, then it's very useful to have. Drawn with CMC3 monitor controller. Don't need that. I've only got one set of monitors, but it's very useful for flicking between the source select 1 and 2 when I'm A/Bing against like a demo version, or if I'm A/Bing against a previous version that I've done or whatever. It's very useful to have those two send so that you can actually hear, has the track improved? What does it sound like in comparison to something else? You might be using like on the Chosen, for example, I use the Prodigy track as a reference point of where things needed to be, and so it's very useful to have a monitor controller that is capable of doing that. Last but not least, on the hardware side is Leipzig Analog Solutions Leipzig S. I've had this for a long time, and it's been used on lots and lots of things for creating brilliant bass lines. If I was still making techno, that would be used every single day. Love that thing. Thanks, Tom. Everything's powered by a Mac Pro, running Logic. I've got the analog keys down there in the corner, which I haven't actually used recently, so I need to do that. And soon I've got a Matrix, Arturia Matrix Brute Noir coming when the microchips become available. I think that's in a couple of weeks' time, so I need to find space and a bigger audio interface. But I've run out of inputs, so I need to get another one. I'll probably daisy chain it, or maybe look at a different one. I don't know, but I've used Motu for ages, and I don't know. I just get on with them. I think I find them pretty good to use. Can't think of anything else really to show you. I mean, there's a lot of software being used. Omnisphere in particular, we use a lot. But I'm a fan of anything that makes great noises, So, obviously in the box, there's an awful lot. Processing wise, I use Waves and Soundtoys. They're my sort of go-to. Eventide as well. Some of their software is really great. So I use that's kind of like my toolbox for doing what I do at the moment. But it's always massively expanding, and I'm sure it will be expanding again soon. As I always look out for the summer sales or whatever, so you can get twice as much for your money. So I'll be doing that again soon to sort of expand the palette for the next album.
Right, Ade, thank you very much for taking the time. And I just want to say, guys, I've just had the privilege of hearing Ade opened up a session of My Jesus, because Ade, you guys have re-recorded Exile, Sacrifice and Pure for a re-release. Yeah. So what Ade did was he pulled it up on Logic and he A-B'd the song My Jesus. He'd play me the new version, and then he would flip back to the old version. And I can't tell you how amazing it sounds. Unfortunately, we can't play it to you because of copyright reasons and the fact that it's not released yet. But take my word for it, it sounds absolutely incredible. Anything you want to say on that, Ade?
Oh, thank you.
You can give me that tenner later.
Yeah, I will do, mate. Thank you.
Okay, well, listen, Ade, thank you very much for taking the time with us today. Really appreciate it, and we'll catch up with you real soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.